Hey everybody, welcome to Crack Pack Tuesday number 193 on the Leek. I'm John as always, and we've got another pack of War of the Spark here. I almost said Ravnica Allegiance. We don't have too much longer before we're going to be cracking Modern Horizons packs, but for now, we're still on War of the Spark. Now, we're going to crack this pack open, see what's in it, and see what we would take pack one, pick one if this was a draft. Of course, every week's Crack Pack is sponsored by you over at patreon.com/themanaleak. If you become a $5 backer over there or above every week, you get a chance to get all the cards out of the pack or whatever cards you happen to want. Not every pack is fantastic, of course. This week it's going out to Evan Reed, so Evan can let me know if they want some of the cards, none of the cards, or all of the cards. But we're going to crack this open and see what we would take pack one, pick one if this was a draft. There we go. Up first is Honor the God Pharaoh. Honor the God Pharaoh is 2 and a red for a sorcery at common. As an additional cost to cast it, you must discard a card, draw 2 cards, and amass 1. It's okay. It's not great. I don't typically go out of my way to play things like Tormenting Voice in Limited, and this is basically Tormenting Voice. It's fine. If you've got a spot for it, play it, but don't go out of your way. It's never a first pick. Up next is Rising Populace. Rising Populace is 2 and a white for a creature human. It's 2/2. Whenever another creature or planeswalker you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Rising Populace. This thing can get out of control. It can be answered really, really well, however. Typically, in the cases where this gets out of your control, it's because your opponent either didn't respect it, in which case you should probably win because they're not playing optimally, or they don't have removal, in which case you should probably win because they don't have removal. You can probably play other cards in place of this, but, you know, like Honor the God Pharaoh, if you have to, it's not the worst thing in the world to play this, but never first pick it. Up next is Shriek Diver. Shriek Diver is 2 and a black for a creature zombie bird warrior. It's a 2/1 with flying. You can pay 1 generic mana to give it haste. This thing is a 4 mana 2/1 haste flyer. I love it. It's totally fine. It's very, very solid. This is a card that I would go out of my way to pick up at some point and always play the first copy of. It is very far away from a first pick, however. You should be able to get this in the middle of the pack at a bare minimum. Up next is Ward Scale Crocodile. Ward Scale Crocodile is 4 and a green for a creature crocodile. It's a 5/3 with hexproof. Haven't really been impressed with Ward Scale Crocodile. There are ways to get counters on it, but 3 toughness is pretty weak. You can block this for a decent amount of time, and thankfully there's no auras in the set, which is typically where big hexproof creatures and me kind of butt heads a little bit. So I haven't really been impressed by this. I haven't really found it oppressive. I've definitely won some games I shouldn't have by throwing on Stealth Mission on this thing, and it's stupid, and hexproof should go away. But Ward Scale Crocodile is not a big offender of hexproof, and it's not a first pick either. Up next is Sarkhan's Catharsis. Sarkhan's Catharsis is 4 and a red for an instant at common. Sarkhan's Catharsis deals 5 damage to target player or planeswalker. It's Lava Axe, but instant speed, and it can hit planeswalkers. Turns out that's okay. It's not good. This is not a card that you should go out of your way to play, and in fact, I would bet you could probably pick it up pretty darn close to last pick. But I have played this in blue-red spells, and I haven't hated it. It's not been great, but I haven't hated it. That's about the ringing endorsement that I can give to Sarkhan's Catharsis. We're not first picking it. Up next is Bloomhulk. Bloomhulk is 3 and a green for a creature plant elemental. It's a 4/4 when it ETBs you proliferate. Now this thing is good. It's a 4/4 for 4. That's good. That's kind of the upper end of the vanilla test. When you get to 5/5s for 5, that's a little bit boring. When you get to 6/6s for 6 that are vanilla, that's kind of boring. So 4/4 for 4, I'm typically very happy with. The fact that it proliferates, and in green, where you're typically going to be proliferating a bunch of counters, if not at least planeswalker counters, this card's just great. I would first pick this. I have first picked this. It's not the strongest of first picks, but it certainly is so far in this pack. And it continues to be so with Saheeli's Silverwing next. Saheeli's Silverwing is 4 generic mana for a 2/3 flyer. When it ETBs, you do something that doesn't matter. You look at the top of your opponent's library, you get to see what their card is for a brief second before they draw it, and then they know too, and it doesn't matter. Everything on this card doesn't matter. It's a 2/3 flyer for 4, and that's not the worst thing in the world. If you need a flyer desperately, you can side this in. You could maybe even main deck it, but you're not going to go out of your way to actually play this. Ob-Nixilis' Cruelty is up next. Take these cards and just throw them all away. Ob-Nixilis' Cruelty is 2 and a green for an instant. Target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn. If that creature would die, you exile it instead. This card's incredible. This card is one of the best pieces of black removal we've seen in Limited in a very, very, very long time. Way back when it would have been 2 mana and killed the thing, but this typically does the exact same thing, and for only 1 more mana. This card's great. It's a snap first pick in the vast, vast, vast majority of packs. In fact, I would say that if the rare is not a bomb, this is our first pick, so it can hang out in frame here. Up next is Totally Lost. Totally Lost is 4 and a blue. Put target non-land permanent on top of its owner's library at instant speed. Totally fine. Totally Lost. I've played this card a fair bit. It's expensive, but it answers the gigantic army and things like that. It buys you the time you need. You don't go out of your way to play this. You strongly prefer to play Callous Dismissal over this. But if you've got a spot for this, this is a totally okay card to play. I've seen people say it's bad. That is wrong. It's just fine. Just fine. Up next is Law-Rune Enforcer. Actual would have been a competitor in this pack were it not for Cruelty. Law-Rune Enforcer is a single white mana for a creature human soldier. It's a 1/2, pay 1 generic mana, tap it to tap target creature with CMC 2 or greater. This doesn't hit armies, but that's about it. It hits every single other thing that's scary. The flyers, the bombs, the gods, everything this hits. Very good card, very strong first pick. Even though white's not great, having this in your white deck will make your white deck pretty darn good. So this would be a strong first pick if Cruelty wasn't there. Our first uncommon, does that mean that we have a foil? No, we have 10 commons. Mayhem Devil. Mayhem Devil is 1 black-red for a creature devil. It's a 3/3. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, Mayhem Devil deals 1 damage to any target. The sacrifice deck is interesting. It exists, it is there, but it's not all sacrifice all the time. It's kind of more of like a go-wide aggro deck that has a couple of Heartfires in it and things like that. So yeah, Mayhem Devil will maybe get like a couple of extra points of damage, but you're not going crazy with this. No, you're not getting to a turn where you're like, aha, now I sacrifice my 12 creatures. That's just not happening. Still, this is a 3/3 for 3. It's in your colors in black-red, and you will get a few extra points of damage, so it's still a totally fine card. I just don't think I ever first pick it. I think I take this when I'm already headed in that direction, and I get this around, and I feel rewarded. I don't think I get it to try to get into there. Our next uncommon is God Pharaoh's Statue. God Pharaoh's Statue is a legendary artifact for 6 generic mana. Spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more to cast. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 1 life. This is not good. It's expensive. The effect doesn't do that much when you get this down on turn 6 at a minimum 7 or 8 or 9 or later usually. And losing 1 life a turn is a very, very, very slow clock. Still, I have been in a match or two where I have sided this in, where I kind of figured we were guaranteed to go into a board stall, and we were, and this won the game. But you got to know when to bring this in, and I don't think you ever really main deck it. It's a little bit better if you have a ramp, but still not that much better, and not Ob-Nixilis' Cruelty better. Gideon's Triumph is our final uncommon. That means we have a rare Planeswalker, so maybe the Cruelty has some competition. Gideon's Triumph is 1 and a white for an instant. At uncommon, target opponent sacrifices a creature that attacked or blocked this turn. If you control a Gideon Planeswalker, you won't, unless we have one below here. You make your opponent sacrifice 2 instead. We talked about this card last week on Crackback Tuesday. It's not targeted removal, so it is the least best kind of removal, but it's still okay because in combat you can kill off their weak little creatures. Maybe you have to get hit by their big scary threat or chump block, but if their big scary threat's the last attacker or blocker alive, this will kill it. So you can be smart with this and you can still work out some pretty decent removal with this, but it's still way below a lot of other cards. In fact, it's below Law-Rune Enforcer and Bloomhulk, I would think. Yeah, I would say it is, but it's not below Ob-Nixilis' Cruelty. Our rare is Tamiyo. Tamiyo, Collector of Tales, 2 green blue for a legendary Planeswalker Tamiyo. Her static ability says that your opponents can't make you discard or sacrifice things, which is great in Standard. People don't read that tiny little block of text there. +1, you choose a non-land card name. You reveal the top 4 cards of your library, and if you reveal the named card, you put all copies of that into your hand. The rest go into your graveyard. -3, you get to put a card from your graveyard into your hand. Turns out Tamiyo's fine. I thought she was awful. Because, of course, you +1, and the odds of you naming a card in what is typically a singleton deck is really low. But the regrow, you +1 her, she's at 6. You get to regrow twice, which is fine. And, yeah, I think Tamiyo's fine. I think I need to actually play with her. I've played with her a lot in my Simic Nexus standard deck, and she's amazing there. Every time I've played against her, I've been unimpressed. My opponents have typically basically milled themselves out or just not done anything relevant with her. I would have to give her a try. And in a competitive scenario, I think I'm still taking the Cruelty over Tamiyo. But if this was a draft right now today, I might give Tamiyo a try to just to see how she is. But I do believe Ob Nixilis' Cruelty is the solid pick here. If Cruelty wasn't there, we'd go with Tamiyo, and if it wasn't, I think we'd go with Law Rune Enforcer. Let me know what your picks would have been down in the comments below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me over on Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. You can find me at patreon.com/ShamaniLeek, where if you become a $5 backer or above, you get a chance to get all the cards out of the pack, just like Evan did this week. And if you want to play Matt or anything else from inkedgaming.com, you can use the promo code ManaLeek10 over there to get 10% off your order. The easiest thing you could do, which is super helpful, is click that thumbs up button or click subscribe if you're new and want to see more content. But as always, if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see y'all next time.